pretty much every online business has already launched or thinking about launching their own online courses. This is because the market for online courses has a lot of potential. In 2024 alone, this whole market was valued at more than $500 billion and is expected to more than double by the year 2030, which means that you have a compound annual growth about 20%. No wonder a lot of people jumped onto this trend because they want to make a quick buck with this. Now, here's the thing though. Because there are so many people that are doing this, there are a lot of different types of courses, and in fact there's an overload of courses. And so if you're thinking about getting into the online course scene and you want a little slice of that cake, then you're gonna need to do more than just include your secret sauce in order for you to be successful. In other words, the competition is pretty fierce out there. And in fact, I would say that the only courses that are going to really withstand the test of time are those that are going to be very transformative. In other words, those that are going to have a lot of engagement and interactivity with their students, making sure that they can complete the courses that they're actually taking. In this video, we're gonna cover exactly what you can do right now, today, in order for you to be successful in 2025 with your online course. Hi, I'm Dave. I'm an engineering professor turned business owner, and I created this channel because I want to help people just like you succeed in building, creating, and sell online courses. So here we go. Step number 1, create project-based courses. Giving your students projects can help them not only stay engaged with the course, but also practice and put that information to the test immediately from minute number 1. Course projects are great because if students don't have something specifically that they're working on their own, this gives them the ability to work on something that you're giving them because you know the various steps of that particular project and you can aid them with that at any point in time. After all, learning should be an active undertaking. You don't want students to just listen to you go on and on and on things. You want to make sure that they're learning, and the great way to do it is so-called learn by practice. And the course project is a great way for them to do just that. So taking the theory that you're talking about and applying it directly to the project that you're giving them means that they have the ability to look at and implement those things immediately. Now, this approach benefits both your learners and you. Because when you standardize your course with a given project, which you come up with and you give to your students, you know the steps, you know what it requires for the students to go through the various steps of the project. And it also means that you don't have to aid them with their own custom individual projects or problems that they might come up with, but may not be well suited for that course that you're teaching. Now, this is something that I apply to my courses. In fact, there's this one engineering course that I teach in which I give the students the same project every semester. And because it's the same standard project, and I know exactly what the various steps are required in order for the students to succeed and therefore also learn the material I teach them, then I can help them and I know what most of the common questions are and common problems, mistakes, etc. In fact, over the years, I combine all these mistakes into a big document which I give the students so they know what has come before them and to avoid making those mistakes. This helps them not only learn the material better, but also practice it immediately. And it's a win-win situation. They win because they practice. I win because I don't have to learn about a new project every semester. So here we go with step number 2, which is focus on student experience. The way we can do this is in 3 main ways. One of the ways is by gamification. In other words, you turn your course not necessarily into a game, but you want to make sure that students are incentivized to complete things and do things, so they're awarded so-called achievements, just like in a game. So for example, they could be given a different player title, or they can be given a set of badges or other types of achievements which they can display proudly in your community. So let's say you're teaching a course on basic cooking skills. So once a student completes the first, let's say, 2 modules, they can be given a title of apprentice chef. Right? So it's the first basic title, but they're unlocking that achievement of apprentice chef. And then as they continue, they become assistant chef and so on and so forth. And towards the end of the course, you might give them some other, more creative titles. And eventually when they complete your advanced course in cooking, they can be given the title of, say, master chef. So students feel encouraged in completing things because they unlock different achievements and they unlock different titles. And that can also be a way for the community itself to be divided based on the various levels. So when somebody is interacting with someone else, they know what kind of progress at what level of completion they are. The second part to make student experience better is to give them activities. Now, what do I mean by activities? I'm talking about specifically actionable items. So whenever you're teaching something, whenever you go through a lesson or a whole module or something like that, you want to make sure that students can take those lessons and put them into practice immediately with so-called actionable items. But you don't want them to guess what possible actionable items they can do. You want to give them sort of assignments, actions, so that they can take the first step into putting into practice what they are learning about that particular module. And the third thing, which I kind of hinted at already in a little bit ago, is about creating communities and focusing on forums and discussion boards so that your students can stay engaged continuously with other learners. So they know that they can rely not just on you, of course, but also on other people that are pretty much in the same boat. And that helps them also see what progress others have done so that they can compare, they can talk about it, they can discuss it. And growing your community is great because it helps you sell more courses. And why? Because your community has all of your clients in one place. So it's much easier to reach them, and also you can sell to them more. In fact, it's much easier to sell to somebody you've sold to previously rather than selling to somebody you haven't sold to previously. Here we go. Step number 3 is engage directly with students. There are so many courses out there where people offer pre-recorded lectures, and I'm not saying they're bad, they're great, they have their place. And there are a lot of courses which are so-called asynchronous, right? Now, that's not a bad thing. However, a lot of people that are engaged in these courses would really benefit, would find it much more helpful and much easier to learn that stuff if they had one-on-one interaction. Also, it gives them that impression that you care about them much more, and also that you're interacting with them because you want them to truly succeed. Especially in a world where more and more online courses exist, having that one-on-one interaction is really what adds value to your course. Because they don't want to think of you as that person on the pedestal, which is unreachable and somebody who just gives you things from above, right? In fact, I would argue that getting that one-on-one interaction is probably way more valuable than all of your pre-recorded lectures put together. Now, I'm not saying, as I said before, that pre-recorded courses or lectures are bad, but you should always integrate them with some sort of live session or multiple live sessions, whether it be a Q&A or perhaps you do 1 out of 3 lectures live so that they can get that, feeling of you not just being behind the screen, but being a real person. Step number 4, give timed, not lifetime, access to your course to promote completion. Just think about this. When somebody buys a book, they go into the store, they buy the book, or maybe they see it on Amazon, they order it, and by the time they get home or they receive the book because they got it delivered, then they're like, okay, well, I really wanted to read it when I clicked purchase, when I was in the store, but right now I'm just going to put it here on the shelf, and I know it's there, so it's never going to go away, so I'm definitely going to read it at some point and finish it, right? Right? Well, how many people have unread books, sitting on their shelves? And trust me, I'm guilty of that. And so how do you ensure that you finish that book, or in this case, that students finish your course? And so this is why giving lifetime access to your course may actually be detrimental to that course completion. Because when students and people have unlimited access in terms of time, then they can always do it later. Now, you want to make sure that you give them timed access. That creates that sense of urgency so the students are actually motivated and incentivized to finish. Now, of course, you want to make sure that you give your students enough time so they can actually complete that course. So if, for example, they buy your course on a 10-hour crash course on a specific topic, then you can give them, 2 days or 3 days to do it. But generally, you can give them something like 3 months. So while they have still plenty of time, of course, and things can happen in their lives in the meantime, of course, that creates still that sense of urgency, that limitless time, which means that they have to take value out of your course immediately. Not to mention that high completion rates are in your interest. I mean, just think about it. When a student completes your, say, basic course in marketing, then they can go on and take the second course, your advanced course in marketing, or whatever else it is that you're teaching. Also, that gives you plenty more of testimonials, feedback, and referrals so that you can keep growing that community and you can keep having more and more people coming to your course as new people, or perhaps returning customers for, the second tier of your course or the third tier or whatever other advanced courses you may be teaching. Step number 5 is to work with smaller cohorts so you can have more one-on-one interactions. Now, we already talked plenty about how one-on-one interactions are really important. And if you have a lot of students, a lot of teams, a lot of projects going on all at once, chances are you won't have time to look at all those with the appropriate care that you should. Let me give you an example that actually works very well for me. I teach two different levels of orbital mechanics, one that is more basic and one that is more advanced. Now, the more basic one, I usually get about 30 to 40 students, and that is plenty of students for me, but I can keep track of each one of them, and whenever they come to my office hours, they ask me questions via email, etc., I remember their names, I remember who they are, and I can keep track because the material is easy, at least for me, and I know that I can help them with one-on-one interactions. On the other hand, the advanced course in orbital mechanics that I teach only has up to 20 students maximum, because I know this material is much more difficult and I know the students struggle much more in this class, and 20 students is as much as I know I can take. More than that would mean that I wouldn't be able to have each one of them potentially succeed. Now, this doesn't mean that you shouldn't collaborate with other people, other creators, or have guest speakers, things like that. That's perfectly fine. However, when it comes to you teaching the core of your concepts and your methods, that must be you. And when it comes to your experience and when it comes to the student support and making sure that you're interacting with those students, that has to be you. There is no delegation there. Now, what we talked about today are the first steps in order for you to maintain student engagement and increase those completion rates. However, you will have to keep refining and tailoring all of these strategies according to your audience's needs. But you don't need to worry about any of this stuff. Use the link in the description so you can schedule a call with me and we can talk about how to optimize your sales for your courses in 2025. I'll see you there.